Come on in.
Hey man.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Right, so this is Matt that I told you guys about, a very important teacher of my life. So, Matt, would you mind introduce yourself a little bit?
Matt Clear, owner of Active Shooter Defense School. I spent a little bit of time in the Navy and a little bit of time on a SWAT team and a lot of time shooting USPSA.
Would you mind showing us maybe like a little experience or badges or whatever you got?
Sure, absolutely. I got my I Love Me wall over here. These are just patches that I wore in Iraq or I picked up in Iraq. This one right here is my favorite, and as you can see it says Spackle Forcus. Well, we had the FID mission, which was teaching the Iraqi Special Forces. So we were about 25 of us were embedded with the Iraqi Special Forces in their little forward operating base. And I saw this patch on one of those Iraqi Special Forces, and I said, what the hell is Spackle Forcus? And he looks at me, he goes, no, Special Forces.
I see.
And I lost it, right? These are awards from Trump for the service on the department. You know, you do so many years of volunteering, you get awards from the president. Just for clarification, I was a Seabee, okay? I wasn't a SEAL, but I was a mechanic, and I was 28 years old when I joined the Navy. So I was already established, and I was making money, and I was working for Chrysler. As far as mechanics in the Navy, I was pretty darn good at what I did. So they learned that you can't roll around Iraq with, 3 or 4 Humvees without taking a mechanic with you.
Oh, of course. So you were spinning around with Special Forces all the time?
Oh yeah. I was completely embedded in that platoon. And then obviously we had a couple EOD guys, but I think 25 people total, 14 operators.
Wow.
And,
so you're like an elite team.
It was great. No, It was a great mission. It was a great mission. We were training the Iraqi Special Forces. We had to take a partner force with us because for every SEAL, they had to take 2.5 Iraqi Special Forces. That was our partner force ratio. If 10 team guys went out, we had to take 25 Iraqi Special Forces. But if they took a tech, like a Seabee, I didn't have a ratio. So they could get one more American on the mission without having to take 2.5 more Iraqis with them. So in 2010, we started this program. I was in on it very early, and this is the Lake Arthur Police Department in New Mexico. We, within that department, developed what originally was called, I want to say it was called ERT. The lead sergeant on that was, a senior sergeant on that was Jason of Redback 1. He's an Australian SAS guy. And then I was the third in charge sergeant.
Oh, wow.
And so you had entry, third in line, right?
Okay.
So we had our 13-man entry team. And that entry team had Delta operators, CAG guys, Canadian commandos, obviously, Australian SAS, and it was 100% volunteer. We trained with Las Vegas Metro SWAT. So they put on an intermediate SWAT course every year. I would say 200 officers that go. And so we go out to Vegas and we go through a week of training with them. They would say, okay, we're gonna show you what we do.
Right.
And then after that, if you have something to add or you have a better way to do it, we're here to learn. So obviously with the amount of talent that was on our team, we had some better ways to do stuff, but some of their stuff was legit. We really liked a lot of the things that they had to offer. We ended up getting along with them, and they actually invited us to stay for an additional week and serve warrants with us. So out of all the police that came to this thing, from all over the nation, we were the only ones invited the next week to stay and serve warrants with them. Don't hold the gun like this anymore. Hold the gun like this. And if you're using a rifle, you want to be like this, not like this. And we're talking about the mechanics of movement, because I don't walk like this.
Exactly.
I walk like this. It's just a natural reaction. Shit! Boom, boom, boom.
Stop! Stop!
And one quick question.
Yeah,
do you think also it relates to the plate carrier is facing to the front?
Right. So mathematically, not that I want to be in either of these situations,
right.
But if I take a shot through here, you're not dead. That's what we call a psychological stop. You can drive yourself to the hospital if you can deal with the pain. You're probably going to survive the initial
Have
hit.
a chance to survive. Right.
So now you take that and I square my plate, have now minimized the damage that can be done. So even if I don't have a plate on, I still want to square, because I can survive a lung shot, not as, it's still going to get me quick, but it's survivable.
Right.
But if I get hit here, That's heart, lungs, spine, arteries, because all that frag
Everything.
of that bullet's going to go through here. So if I present this, yeah, I'm presenting a smaller target, but I'm presenting a way more vital
Right.
area to get hurt and die quicker.
Exactly.
Okay,
Right.
so even without a plate, I still want a square. Okay.
Better than just hit one than multiple, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, right. Better
Yeah.
than survivable, less survivable.
Exactly. What's better, competition shooting or tactical shooting?
Right. What's better, right?
Right, what's better,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so how you shoot the gun is how you shoot the gun. It's the same way as the best USPSA shooters. How am I going to shoot 5 rounds fast if I want to shoot 5 rounds in 1 second? That's how I shoot the gun.
Exactly.
And you will learn that shooting competition. Now, here's where tactics come into play. In a competition, I'm going to kick a door open like this office here. There's going to be 17 paper targets in here. I'm going to run right into the middle of the room and I am going to engage all 17 of those targets. If there were 17 guns in a room and I kicked the door in and ran into the center of it, I'm dead. Tactics is how do I apply, how I shoot that gun to make that shot. Because in combat shooting, I have to make the shot no matter what.
Yes.
Okay? And that's it. It's making the shot no matter what. So now, how do I need to move my body through the scenario to A, not get shot, because that's really number one,
Exactly,
right?
yes,
Right?
yes.
Let's go home that day.
Exactly.
Okay. And then number 2, how do I get my barrel on target, fast and efficient, and not get shot?
Right.
And that's tactics. It takes you about 4/10, 5/10 of a second to reference a front sight picture on a rifle or even a pistol, right? So if I'm standing at 5 to 7 yards and I have a man-sized target,
Okay.
I can draw and fire and shoot 1 round anywhere in that target. I mean, I've been down in the .6s on my better days. But if I do that same drill and they say, shoot the business card, the little box in the head, on average, it takes me 1.1 to 1.3 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Okay, which means that I have to process that front sight picture. So I'm
Oh,
adding
yeah.
that 4 or 5/10 of a second
Right. Right.
to that shot to process that front sight picture. So which one of those techniques do I use in a gunfight?
Well, I'm gonna say the first one.
Maybe.
If we're taking the short distance shot.
Exactly.
Right,
The
right.
situation, the tactics that I apply to that are going to be given for that situation. The situation is going to dictate how I respond. But I have to practice both. And I have to know what I'm doing when I'm practicing both of those situations,
Yes.
or both of those techniques, right? They say 3,000 to 5,000 times. Builds a subconscious neural pathway, right? Muscle
Yes.
memory, whatever
Yes.
you want to call it. You have to do each one of them
Right. Right.
3,000 to 5,000 times before it becomes that ingrained
Exactly.
subconscious neural pathway.
So-
But if you haven't practiced both of those techniques 3,000 to 5,000 times, now you have to think about doing them.
And I don't think you can process the
Right,
information
right.
when you really need it.
Right. So what I would rather do is learn how to shoot the gun really good, not have to think about that aspect of it,
Right.
and then I can put all my energy of my brain into those, what tactics am I going to use for said situation?
Right.
Okay? Police officer is shooting over the top of his cruiser, and he shoots, he goes bang, bang, and he sets his gun down. And he goes like this, and he goes, what? Like you see him go, what the fuck? And he picks it back up and he starts shooting. Well, why did you think he did that?
Well, if he trained to shoot, drop down the pistol, and when he comes to the real life, he might do that again.
Exactly.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So he's standing at the range every 3 or 6 months or whatever the department required for his qualification, and he's got the table in front of him, and the guy comes over and he goes, your next course fire will be 2 rounds from the table, 2 rounds.
I see.
Stand by, beep, picks up the gun, shoots 2 rounds, sets it back down, starts talking to his buddy, right?
Damn. Okay.
So in a gunfight, what did he do? He picked up his gun, he shot 2 rounds, and he set it back down and went, holy shit. And that is the one video that is responsible for getting rid of all the tables at the firing lines for police officers.
Would you just explain a little bit about tactics versus movement? Because a lot of people think about, here's the tactic. High ready, aim, boom, 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 switching to pistols, boom, boom, boom.
That's shooting.
That's a tactical movement.
That's shooting.
Right. So a lot of people are going to say, hey, oh, you know what? I just did a tactical movement. But
Yeah, you can call it a tactical movement, but it's just shooting and moving.
right.
That's how you shoot the gun. That's how you shoot on the move.
Right, would you
That is
specify?
shooting.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So
Just because you're moving doesn't make it a tactic.
exactly.
A tactic is I've got a busload of children that are held hostage. How are we going to surprise and overwhelm the bad guys, 3 of them that are on the bus that are holding these kids hostage?
Exactly.
Right? What are we going to do?
Right.
We have guns, we have grenades, we have flashbangs, we have C4, and we have det cord, and we have all the stuff that goes along with explosives. Are we going to explosive breach the windows?
Right.
Well, we can't do that because we're going to hurt some of these kids,
Right,
right?
right,
Are we going to push the bus over with a bulldozer and then everybody's going to get rattled around? Nope, can't do that, right? Okay. Can't go in there with a frag grenade. Oh, we got gas too, right? So maybe we gas everybody, right? Kids will survive the gas. How are we going to use these things to solve this problem that we have in front of us?
Right.
Okay. Those are tactics. So you can do bounding Overwatch. We both start shooting. One guy moves back while this forward guy is still shooting.
Right.
And then he bounds back further. He doesn't stop shooting until this guy starts shooting.
Right.
And you work your way out of the scenario or forward doing that. Now you start adding fire teams and platoons, and then you have a grenadier.
Yes, please.
Yeah. He's a Navy SEAL.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's talk to that guy.
So, anyhow, and ultimately what you're trying to do in those type of tactics is you're trying to make a bullet keep the enemy down long enough for you to move.
Right.
Walking around with the gun is walking around with fun.
Right, because when you're talking about the real tactical movement, it has a goal, right? It has a goal to do something. Versus I'm just doing something on the field and I feel like I look cool. It's like, you know what? Boom, boom, boom. All right, cool tactic, right? So I'm gonna say tactic, like you mentioned about tactic, is about critical thinking versus just
100%. Okay. But if you don't have that data box to click on, or you go to click on that box and there's nothing populated in there, you're going to freeze. You're done.
Exactly.
You don't rise to the occasion. You default to what you know and what you've trained.
Right.
Okay. I can give all those tools to anybody, and they can become extremely good on the range. But if they've been running from fistfights their entire lives, they are not ever going to be a great operator or SWAT guy. Because in the moment that it takes to have courage or use your big balls, they don't have them. They're not there. And I can't give you that. And I think losing fights is more important than winning them. Because at the same time, if I've won all my fights and I've never lost a fight, I don't know how to deal with that. So now all of a sudden I'm shot and I've been hit in the face and one of my eyes don't work and my fingers half cut off like mine was. You know what I mean? And in that moment, you are going to either succumb or you're going to push through.
Yes.
And that's why I say it's usually the toughest kid in the neighborhood that makes the best SWAT guy or the best operator or the best this. Now these guys are brutal, but if you've never had your ass kicked, I don't know which way you're going to go.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
And that's when you get into those qualification courses, right? So even for this ERT team, we ran a Q course.
Oh, you guys have.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. If you wanted, you could either be on the TMT, tactical movement team, or whatever it was, or you could be on the entry team.
So what's the difference between the entry team and this TMT? Like, what is the entry team specifically?
We're the first ones through the door.
Gotcha. First one
Okay?
to the door.
We're the first ones through the door.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Right.
If you were part of the TMT, yeah, you could go through the door, but you're not the number one guy, right? And you're usually more like the number 6 cleanup crew, especially if all 13 of us were there.
Gotcha.
Now, during that Q course, I broke 2 ribs and still made it through the Q course because obviously I was one of the sergeants on the team. Everybody that had an E on their helmet or an E on their shoulder had been through that Q course.
What you're saying is, for the mindset, it is more about embracing the failure. The
100%.
courage to embrace the failure.
It's learning where your line is, and learning what you can't do. When I go up to the airsoft training and I tell the guys, I said, okay, we're going to play this match and whoever dies gets to go home for the day. And they're like, what the fuck? I paid, $300 or whatever to be here.
Right.
And they can't do that. But if I say you have to sit out the next 10 games, everybody slows down.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody's running through those doors anymore.
Right.
And I'm not saying that there's not a time that 13-year-old kid that weighs 98 pounds that just sprinted through with shorts and shot everybody in the room with pistols, that's not going to work. But people don't die right away.
Exactly.
Okay, so one airsoft BB takes you out of the game. One bullet not necessarily is going to take you out of the game for that moment. A human, they used to say 45 seconds, now they say up to a minute, can be alive and functioning without a beating heart for up to a minute. We could almost have a conversation for 30 seconds.
Wow.
Remember, what's your heart doing? It's just pushing oxygen to your muscles.
Yeah.
So if there's still O2 in your muscles, you're still functional. So now You've shot the guy in the chest, the bad guy, right? And he's on the ground, but the gun's still in his hand.
And he can still do something.
This is why cops continue to shoot these people until the gun is no longer in their hand. They continue to talk to them, and they don't rush right up there. Because how many bullets can you shoot in 60 seconds? On my CZ, I've got 6 rounds per second out. It's a little bit faster gun than a Glock.
Yeah.
The Glock, I get about 5.
Yeah, I got about 5 in my Glock.
Right.
Well, yeah. But still, that's a lot of rounds in 1 second.
In 1 second. So a minute is a world of time. Now, if we take that math and we think about that, that same kid that went sliding in there in a real world fight and he went boom, bang, bang, bong, right?
Right.
You know, that's really not going to answer the same as it does in an airsoft situation, right?
Exactly.
Okay, everybody goes, oh shit, I'm dead. Okay, I'm going to go respawn. Right. Whereas in reality, he shoots 5 guys in the stomach and they all shoot him.
Exactly.
He's dead. They're going to have to be out of the fight eventually. Right. But unless he came in and did 5 headshots, he's dead as fuck.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a little different. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
A little different. We're still doing 4-man entries or flooding the room or whatever, but now the number 1 and number 2 guys, we were just the number 1 guy had all authority, right? And he could pie the room, and at any point that he decided to make entry, the team just followed. Okay? So, but we didn't automatically make entry.
Right.
We pied up as much of the room as we could see and then assessed and went in.
Right. Because you want to have this situational awareness before you're coming in.
Yeah, that'd be great, right? It'd be great if we had an X-ray machine.
Exactly.
You know, where's he at? Oh, he's right over there in the corner.
Actually,
his gun's pointed this way.
Right.
I just need a big X-ray machine.
Right. So we're talking about this.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying, hey, you know what? Why can't we just use thermal? All those high technology before enter the door. Why can't we use that? Yeah.
That's
money.
It. That's it.
We just can't have everybody who's having this kind of stuff.
Yeah, everybody would love to have it.
Right.
But who's buying them?
Right.
You know? I mean, you're talking about that department had like 12 dudes and an annual budget of 400 grand, whatever it was. You know, I mean, it was nothing.
How effective would you rate when we're doing the CQB? Everybody has the thermal, X-ray. Like how effective do you think it would be?
Well, everything's defeatable.
Right.
There's not anything out there that's not defeatable. Okay. So thermal, you can defeat it with emergency blanket. Thermal's ineffective.
Right.
Everything is defeatable. Now, in the moment, are you going to be prepared to defeat all this stuff? That's where the element of surprise comes in. And the element of surprise is amazing when it comes to tactics.
Right. So in sum, what I would say is, first it's about a cost effective. We don't want to just use every single hashtag to deal with a very low priority.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Second is, even though we use high technology, it's defeatable. And third is, our critical thinking ability using tactic is the number 1 key to solve problems.
Right.
So lastly, any word of advice for those people who want to be someone like you, or just be like a professional people, or grow up their tactical skill? Do you have any advices?
Well, I mean, join the military. You
Yeah.
get to do it and get paid, right?
That's the best.
You get paid to do it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
You have to do a whole bunch of shit on your own to stay in that.
Right.
Maybe you suck at jujitsu. You're gonna go seek out jujitsu training on your own after work to get better at it. And if you're not doing that shit, or you're not seeking it out at the team level, then that's you're not training to your weaknesses, and you're not a good operator. You're not fixing yourself for the betterment of the team. Identifying those weaknesses and training to them is part of having that mindset. You can be the best shooter in the world. I can take your gun away.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yep.
What do you do then?
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So you have to check all those boxes. Sea, air, land. Right? This is where they got the acronym.
Yep.
And they're smart enough to know that if any civilian out there is the best competition shooter, they know that he's a better shooter than them. The operator goes to that guy and says, hey, teach me what you know about shooting. All the time knowing he's never going to be as good as this guy, but hopefully he's going to learn something from this guy. Right? And he's going to be pretty goddamn good. Right? So you want to be better at something, you want to be a better operator or whatever you're calling it this week, train to your weakness.
Right.
Learn to identify your weaknesses and be humble enough to execute where you suck.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I think that is very, very important.
Right.
Your school, right?
Active Shooter Defense School. It's asdschool.com. Easy to find. We travel all over the United States. If you're interested in bringing us out to your neighborhood for a class, Jamie and I are happy to travel out there. We have helicopters, we have guns, we have airplanes. We can shoot out of the helicopter if that's something you want to do. Get good at the basics. Okay. The best way I heard it is rapid application of flawless fundamentals.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
That's all it is. There's
Right.
no secret to it, guys. And I'll tell you the best thing that I learned, and I learned this through my career of shooting, the best shooters in the world are the best follower throughers. You follow through on every shot. So
Right.
if I take one round and I shoot it, I have the gun goes off and I settle back down on my initial point of aim and I re-prep the trigger.
And that is
follow through.
right.
The better you are at following through, the better you will be at shooting.
Mark that. That is really important.
The best shooters in the world are the best follower throughers. And we say that like that, so you remember.
Right.
Follower throughers.
Well, thank you again.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty.